Welcome to Thursday's Step 10 and 11 meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. It is now with great pleasure that we introduce our first speaker, Peter M., who's going to share around Step 10 for about 20 minutes. Peter, over to you. Thank you.
There we go. My name is Peter, recovered alcoholic. Grateful to be alive and sober and part of a sacred place called Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah. Thank you for having us both out here. And we're looking forward to visiting with some of you folks in November. We have a little event out there across the pond, I think you say it. So we're looking forward to be out there for our Thanksgiving. We'll celebrate there with you. June 23rd of 1988 is when God separated me from alcohol, and I'm very grateful for that gift. Marion and I share the same home group down here in South Florida, beautiful Boca Raton, Florida. We have a group called No Problems, Just Solutions on Wednesday night. It's a big book study meeting. Marion's facilitating right now at home group. And I have a sponsor out of Minnesota, and I sponsor a whole bunch of guys around the country. So God has me pretty busy. I will tell you real quick, just to qualify, because really short leash today, 20 minutes. Picked up a drink at 14, got into narcotics along the way. I was an IV heroin user, speedball user, Valium eater, and I could not stop drinking. And 7 treatment centers later, I realized I had this thing called phenomenon of craving, this mental obsession and spiritual malady. Now, to be quite honest with you, I never heard words like obsession and spiritual malady and craving. I don't know what those words meant, but I got to experience them. And when they explained it to me out of the first 43 pages of our book, I identified, because they were talking about me. The inability to stop using no matter how great the necessity or the wish. I can identify with that. I couldn't control the stopping or the starting, and I cannot tell you how many times I was done. I'm never going to use again. I'm never going to drink again. And 15 minutes later, I'm doing it again. I would hide my money. I would have people hold my money. I put money in my shoes, gave my check away, and I still found ways to get it back and continue because I had to. And it's a very frightening time towards the end of my using when, although I got away from narcotics, I couldn't get away from alcohol and pills. When they stopped working, no matter how much alcohol I put in my body, no matter how many pills I ate, I couldn't get there anymore. And I was pretty much stuck in misery. And on June 23rd of 1988, I was surrendered. I didn't even have the ability to wallow in my own self-pity. I didn't have the ability to feel sorry for myself and plan a way out. There was nothing left. And we get to a place where it kind of feels like this is about my last breath that I'm going to take before something really bad happens. I'm just going to roll over and die. It's an awful place, and that can happen to us. You know, Marion will tell her story. She had 3 kids trying to run a family and experience, this is it. I'm going to either get sober or keel over and die. For me, it happened in the back of an abandoned building in Lower Manhattan. I was a homeless bum. And so when I get sober, my very first sponsor in New York opened up the book and we began a journey. And he didn't do line by line. Some people do line by line, and that's cool. He gave me assignments out of the book and we'd read together. But he immediately got me into what he called 10 steps. And he showed me what you read earlier, the 10-step promises that this is going to happen to you if you work for it. See, in the I think it's the forewords. It talks about statistics in AA, and it says for those who really tried. And how it works, it says willing to go to any lengths. And the 9-step promise is that if we work for them, I had to participate in this. I couldn't just go to a meeting and expect these miracles to happen. I had to get a shovel and pick and do some work and plow the field. And he got me immediately into 10 steps. And the 10 steps, what we did was write out, not everyone does this, the spot check inventory. My sponsor had me putting pen to paper to take a look at where I was selfish, dishonest, resentment, and fearful throughout the day. And we would put pen to paper, and there were some instructions I had to follow. And that was immediately go to God, discuss it with someone at once, write an inventory, make amends quickly. There's very specific instructions in step 10. Now, over the years, I've had a few birthdays in AA. Not everyone writes out a 10-step. A lot of folks just navigate through the day and do a spot check inventory. When we look at steps 10 and 11, for some reason, they seem like they crisscross in a lot of places. But what my sponsor had me do was when I had an opportunity, if I get hooked with the resentment or a fear at 9 o'clock, I didn't have the luxury to address that at night, 10 o'clock tonight, when I had to sponsor another alcoholic. I had to turn to God at once. I had to discuss it with someone immediately. And he had us put pen to paper and write out column inventory. I had a sponsor in New York. I had a sponsor in Texas, Mark H. I had another fellow help me, Joe H. I had a sponsor, Mickey M. from Colorado, and all of those men were very, very rigid. If I would call them up, they didn't give me the opportunity just to unload my problems. They would tell me, where is the inventory on this? A 10-step. And they would hang up the phone. They would tell me, write the inventory, call me back. Now, that might be a little too rigid for a lot of folks, but it's the thing that helped me get disciplined to a spiritual life. And I saw the benefit of it. Nowadays, I like to have a conversation with a lot of men I sponsor and hold them accountable to an inventory, but I like to give a little bit more latitude. I was just very willing to be disciplined. And so I would write out this inventory, and I look at step 10, and it's a daily 4 through 9. See, it keeps me spiritually fit, because when I'm not spiritually fit, I feel like I'm far away from God. When I'm spiritually fit, I feel like I'm a part of God, not apart from God. What this allows me to do is get some breathing room throughout the day. So today I don't wear the world like a heavy garment. I get to wear it like a loose garment. The freedom I seek today is not for me, but I get from me. I get freedom from me. Sometimes we hear, I need to help myself. I need to discover myself. I need to learn about myself. I need to read self-help books. I need to go to Barnes and Nobles and hit the self-help section. No. Self has had done enough damage in my life. I don't need anything to give self a leg up. What I need to do is kill self off. And what 4 through 9 does is defeat my ego, because I can't defeat it on my own. My ego will find a way to infiltrate right in the middle of a meditation and make me believe I'm the most spiritual guy. What 10 and 11 does is not only crush the ego, but allows me to grow in understanding and effectiveness, which Marion will talk about shortly. Lots of times at meetings, and I'm going to get on a soapbox, forgive me, if I was the mayor or the governor of AA, I would change reading how it works at the beginning of every meeting we go to. So those of us who've been around a while, we don't even hear it anymore. We're checking our phone, we're lighting a cigarette, we're getting coffee while they're reading. Rarely have we seen a person fail. And I always thought about the new guy, because it's happened to me, who's got white knuckle sobriety. He or she's got a day or two in sober and know they're going to go and drink by midnight and ask me, when does this go away? When is this weight off my back, this screaming to drink again? The lies I'm being told that I buy every time, when is it going to go away? And when I would sit down and read them, that you'll cease fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. It's an interesting statement Bill makes. He doesn't put alcohol first. He talks about anything or anyone, because when I sobered up, I was at war with the world, everyone including me, because my alcoholism doesn't come in a bottle of whiskey. And I will pay any price tomorrow to see comfort right now, and I will make a permanent decision based on a temporary feeling. So Bill says, because we're going to be at peace with everything that's around us. That doesn't mean we're not going to disagree occasionally. You're going to see left, I'm going to see right, you're going to see him up, I'm going to see him down. I'm just not going to war with you about it. And amends are made quickly. Oh, and by the way, I'll stop fighting alcohol and the need for it. I will tell this new person because sanity will have returned. It's a guarantee off of step 2. I'll seldom be interested in liquor, and if tempted, I'll tell this person you'll recoil from it from like a hot flame. You won't run into the flame anymore because something is blocking you. It's called God, and you'll react sanely and normally. This is a place called recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. It was explained to me when I was new, and experientially I can talk about it today, what it's like living in the world of the spirit, where we get rocketed into this 4th dimension, and we have this 6th sense our book talks about. This is beyond what I'm used to. All of this is counterintuitive. All of this doesn't make any sense to the mind. Makes perfect sense to God. Alcoholics Anonymous makes Cocaine Anonymous, Narcotics, whatever anonymous it is, makes absolutely no sense that this thing should work. But in God's world, it works perfectly. My new attitude, his new attitude toward liquor will be given to him without any thought or effort on his part. Don't have to think the drink through, play the tape to the end, keep it green, remember where they come from. This is just brought to us out of God's mercy. It says the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. What a tremendous promise that I can offer a new person. But there's a hook that I need to keep spiritually fit. Because if I don't, all of it will come back and I'll buy the lie and the truth will always get me. So we started doing these 10 steps regularly, and we started to incorporate what the 11th step pulls on, inspirational books and being quick to see where religious people are right. So I have a daily 10 step that I do. When I was new, I would constantly be writing. I thought I had to come up with something to keep my sponsor happy. And little by slowly, I start to get away from having to write everything because I shouldn't have to, because I have some spiritual muscles. I'm operating out of the soul rather than operating out of the mind where all the problems are. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can tell you what my mind, how it operates. I wake up at 5 a.m. I did this morning. It was about 10 to 5. And I can't tell you how many times my eyes open and I'm thanking God for another day. And by the time my feet hit the floor, I turn into Rambo and I'm at war with somebody. I didn't even start my day yet. And my mind is already in the middle of an argument with someone. I banned myself from watching the news today because of some current events back here. And if I watch the news, I'll turn into Rambo in 20 minutes and start blaming someone. I can't do that. God's going to win. He always wins. He always wins. And my job is to practice fidelity to God and be in line with God, not out of line with God. And 10 and 11 allow me to be there. Quick story. A number of years ago, my wife and I worked together since she got down here in 2012. And it really is a treat for us to work together. It has its challenges by other people getting involved in what we do. And we both worked for a boss that, to put it bluntly, was a male chauvinist, just old world ideas about women's place in this world. And he made no bones about it either. Women were second class to him. They were sex objects and servants. And Marion and I were working for him. And I walked into the office, Marion's office one day, and she was weeping. And I was immediately concerned and alarmed by it. And I asked her what was going on. And she didn't want to tell me. And I said, you need to tell me. And she told me that our boss just walked into the office and just kind of laced into her about some things in an ugly fashion. And at that moment, I turned into Rambo. I went from Moses to Rambo in a hot second. And what was going on in my head was, I'm probably going to land in jail in a couple of hours, and I'm definitely going to lose my job, but it's going to be worth it because I'm in lock and load mode and have to defend my integrity and her dignity. And I got into the car, stormed out of the office, got into my car, and was headed towards my boss's office. But God has a way when we're spiritually fit. See, what happens is when I'm spiritually fit, the thought stream is interrupted. My aliveness is not deadened by thought stream. The thought stream's interrupted with a little quiet voice, usually ruins my plans. He's called God. And I hear this little voice telling me, what are you doing? Thank God for God. And I was able to pause for a moment, and the voice said something like, you should call your sponsor right now. I don't want to call my sponsor. I call my sponsor, and I'm talking to him 100 miles an hour. He says, slow down. What is going on? He says, you know what? Let's pray. And we prayed over the phone together. And he says, let's do a 10-step. He knew I was not in a place to write. He says, who are you resentful at? I told him. He says, and what's the cause of the resentment? I told him. He says, what areas of you did it affect? I told him. He says, were you selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and afraid? I told him. We prayed one more time. Now I have breath back in my lungs. And he says, I'm going to give you a consideration. He was wrong, dead wrong. He says, but don't you think your place right now is with Marion and consoling her rather than getting arrested and now she has two problems? All you're consumed with you is with you right now. So I went back in the office and I sat with Marion a while. I turned to God, spoke to someone quickly. There was no amends to be made here. I just had to be of service to Marion. And that's what our book says. Where can we be helpful here? Who can I help? And it was her at the moment. And the smoke started to, settle and go away. And we both got cleared up about this and resigned a short time later. I resigned a short time later. Marion was let go. And we found our own little company working for ourselves. We're self-employed. We have been for a while. That has its challenges, but I don't have to listen to someone bark at my wife anymore. So great things come out of a pause and reaching out to someone other than my mind to figure things out, because all my mind does is lie to me. So 10-step is a great process. Like I said, some folks don't like to write it out. Bill in the 12 and 12 calls it the spot check. I write it out. I also found that the more I address things throughout the day with pen to paper, my evening review is very little to do other than the prayer, meditation, and going over some things. When I don't address my day, I have a whole lot of stuff that I need to address at night. And if I'm not careful, I will wake up on Monday with Sunday all over me, the emotional hangover. When I start doing that, I get plaque on the soul. Enough plaque on the soul, we know what resentments do. They block me from God and I pick up a drink. And to drink is to die. So I'm still in a place of going to any lengths. They change over the years. And bringing new things into my life and being really open-minded. I see the value in 10 and 11. And the last thing I'll say, they use the word maintenance, but it is not about standing still. God forbid if I was stand still. Maintenance for me is caring for the soul. So I get to do that. My time is up, so thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Peter, for that share. It was lovely. Thank you so much. So step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will and for us to carry the power out. It now gives me great pleasure to welcome our second speaker tonight, Marion, who will share for around 20 minutes on step 11. Thank you, Marion. Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. My name is Marion, and I'm a recovered alcoholic. And that's where we spend the greater time of our fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous. But I do have a CA story, in my life. My sobriety date is November 11th, 1989. And that CA stuff was really popular back in the 80s. And what it really did was give me fuel to drink a whole bunch more and put anything other mood and mind altering thing in my body that I possibly could. Thank you, Peter, for your message. And it was awesome. Peace. I get to hear more than anybody on the planet. And I love that. It's wonderful to be shoulder to shoulder and partnered with someone with this passion for recovery and this passion for God. And it's just a beautiful walk we get to do together. And so looking forward to coming there. So looking forward to it. I have never, ever been. It's things I've seen in the movies forever. And I just love it. A little pocket of enthusiasm there that you all have, and that's wonderful. So there's a few things that were popping. When we're growing in understanding and effectiveness with this God of our understanding, that why do we do this? We all sit on this meeting tonight in the UK at 7 p.m. or 2 o'clock in the afternoon here, not on our own power. And I was just talking about this in my home group last night. It's like, it's so, how we can come from this hopeless state of mind and body to this place with this relationship with each other, with God, and cease fighting everything and everyone. How incredible this life we get to live. And I'm grateful for that. And I was actually, I was doing a lecture yesterday in the business that we're in on growing and understanding and effectiveness. Really when we break that down and what does that look like? How do I understand God? And there's one little paragraph on 164 at the end of A Vision for You. And where am I at? I'm going to get there. That says, that just gives us our marching orders. Okay. Gives us our marching orders. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Abandon myself as I understand God. Well, how am I going to grow to understand God? And how am I going to trust that God that I'm going to abandon myself to? Something I can't hear, something I can't see, something I can't always feel. What does that look like to me? Well, what I know in my life is in this, the realm of the spirit, broad and roomy, all inclusive, never exclusive, deep down inside, in the doctor's opinion, deep down inside every man, woman, and child is a fundamental idea of God. And I love that. It's like, I know that for me, that my God is a God of love. My God is a God of compassion. My God is a God of mercy. My God is a God of empathy and understanding and all those things. And, one of the things I've been practicing before I go into what it says in the big book as well is at night I tend to, when we retire at night, and I'm a mother of 3 children. I've got a bunch of grandchildren, and, I can tend to put my head on the pillow at night and the worry comes out. My husband will say, well, honey, do you need something else to worry about? And I know that about me, And one of the things I've really, really been practicing in my life personally and my growing of my understanding with God, I haven't even talked to Peter about this, so he's going to hear it live, but, is turning my worries into prayers. Like, when I retire at night, and if someone comes to my thought, like my daughter or a friend, we've got 2 dear friends in our home group that are very, very ill, that if my thought turns to them, if my thought turns to something, the tendency in our human condition is to turn it to worry. But what really needs to happen, that has really been just like aha for me, is I believe that God's putting it on my heart now. I believe that that person's on my heart, that situation's on my heart for a reason to use it, to turn to prayer, to turn it to the power that is all good and all loving and all, you know, so it's just a really cool thing that I've put into practice personally. Okay. So I wanted to read that. Another thing here too. Um, and this is actually in the family afterwards of all things, but it is, and it's beautiful. Those of us who have spent so much time in the world of spiritual make-believe have eventually seen the childishness of this. This dream world has been replaced by a great sense of purpose, accompanied by a growing consciousness of this power of God in our lives. We have come to believe he would like us to keep our heads in the clouds with him, but that our feet ought to be firmly planted on earth. That is where our fellow travelers are. And I have this friend Paulette down here, and she always introduces herself at a meeting. Hello, fellow travelers, after she's done introducing her name. And I just love that. We're fellow travelers on this journey. And that is where our work must be done. But my work that has to be done can't be in a place, our work, in my opinion, you know, with my husband sharing the inventory, the 10th step. If I'm not practicing that in my daily walk, then what am I bringing to people? If I'm growing in understanding and I want to be effective, if I'm coming from a place of self that is full of fear and full of resentment or all these things, how effective am I going to be when I'm working with another alcoholic? This is my marching orders. This is where our work is to be done. And it says, these are the realities for us. We have found nothing incompatible between a powerful spiritual experience and a life of sane and happy usefulness. Now, I don't know about a sane and happy usefulness. Whoever thought we would get there? You know what I mean? It's like finding ourselves productive members of society, finding ourselves sane. What? Returned, restored to sanity of right mind. And it's a beautiful walk we get to do. When I practice these disciplines, do I do it all the time? Absolutely not. Do I fall short? Absolutely. And does the human experience come? Yeah. Does the ego, the pride, all those things come? Absolutely. But guess what? When we live in this rocketed and, you know, living in this other dimension, rocketed into this new dimension, in there's not room for that stuff. There's not room for that stuff. And thank God that we can become alive and conscious of it. Because why? Because we have this life of being sane and useful and usefulness. It's crazy. And even my mistakes, you know, and even the places I fall short, and even in those places, my goodness, when we can turn back to God and we can turn in, my husband always says this, when I can turn in to go out, okay, here I am, fallible, broken, you know, I'm those things. And I was even talking to someone yesterday, a sponsee, about, oh, I was wrong. Oh my God, I would cover things up, and my pride and my ego wouldn't let me see that stuff. But even when I'm wrong, when I'm admitting that to a sponsee or I'm admitting that to a fellow traveler, okay, all right, let's get back on the saddle and let's ride. You know, we're going to be okay. None of us have to do this perfect. So I don't know. I think the coffee kicked in, honey. So then I'm just gonna do a little breakdown of 86 and 87 that was given to me. I was with some friends, and you know, and we never know where our lessons are going to come from. There's no such thing as, for me, of being 35 and a half years sober and not being able to learn from somebody that's younger in the pro. You know what I mean? We're you know, we're open. I live a life of openness to learn when I need to learn. And we were, Peter and I were doing a workshop in Akron at a campfire. It was really cool. It's campgrounds. And, we were driving to the venue, and this couple that was with us, they're like, wow, we didn't do our prayer and meditation. And I said, well, let's just do it now. Let's open the book. Let's turn to 86, 87, and 88. And the young lady that was with me, not near as much time as me, my pride and ego, oh my gosh, but had broken down on awakening to me in a way that I'd never heard it or considered it. And it was just like amazing, because all those years in early recovery, I had 3 little kids running around. I would lock myself in the bathroom and I'd read On Awakening. Let us think about the 24 hours ahead, like power read through it. But at least I was doing it and disciplined to do it. But so this young lady, she starts breaking it down. And what it does, when it says On Awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. And what it does is we consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, it says we ask. And any time in the big book when it says we ask, it means we pray. So we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. That's a prayer. What happens when this prayer maybe is activated? Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. What? Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. I don't know if you're an alcoholic or addict like me, but man, if I just carry that around in my day, I'm golden, And here we go again. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. What happens? Here's a prayer again. Here we ask God for inspiration and intuitive thought or decision. What happens when we pray that prayer, guys? It says we relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. Guys, these are promises to us. Like, wow, what a way to live. We're often surprised how the right answers come after we've tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Gradually becomes a working part of the mind. I act better. I do better. I function better. I don't have all the regrets, as many regrets when I'm living this way. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it's not probable that we're going to be inspired at all times. Oh yeah. See, that's a little caveat. It gives us a way out to be human, to go, oh crap, I messed up again. Our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. I'm going to know better. Goes into praying with someone else, So we go back to the bottom of the page and it says, we go through the day. We pause when Peter was saying, we pause when agitated or doubtful. We ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we're no longer running the show. A prayer again. Humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done. And what's the promises behind that? We're then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient. So when I'm growing in understanding and effectiveness, I'm becoming more efficient in my effectiveness when I'm plugged into God, when I'm plugged into spirit, when I'm plugged in with my life source. I'm going to be more experienced. I'm not going to tire as easily. So I just love that. I love this too, because this is us. We don't tire as easily, for we're not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. And man, oh man, the actor directing the show, if the players would only stay in place. And that's beautiful. Like Peter was talking about before, the we cease fighting everything and everyone, even alcohol, even cocaine, or any, you know what I mean? We're not fighting that anymore. And it's just a beautiful way to live. I'm just grateful for this life that God has given me. I'm grateful for this recovery. I'm living in this place of the realm of the spirit and being able to walk along with my fellow travelers on this journey, and do it from a place of vulnerability, and do it from a place of brokenness, and being able to do it shoulder to shoulder with you all. It's big shot, little shot, one shot, we're all shot. So grateful to be here, and I've run out of steam. So that's it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marion. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring Peter back in with you so you can both have a 10-minute spiritual discussion around 10 and 11, or however you see fit. So both of you, it's over to you for your discussion. Thank you so much.
Oh, really?
Okay. Do you guys remember back in the States, the Regis and Kathy Lee in the morning, Good Morning America? Regis Philbin and Kathy Lee, that's what I feel like when we're together. We have a morning talk show. Yeah, a 10-minute discussion. Is that what you said? Sure. Well, I will share with you a story I've shared from a million podiums. And I'll preface it by saying I try to, the men I sponsor, I really try to get them involved in a life of meditation, contemplative prayer, more than just petitioning God and looking to get the Spirit to do what they want, or me getting the Spirit to do what I want, and going into silence to hear and darkness to see. Meditation, just focusing in on breath and getting still, because in the stillness I can hear a voice that I couldn't hear because all the noise around me. In meditation, there have been numerous times where some of what I call the riddles in life, the painful things, the questions that seem to be unanswered, were all resolved and put in a nice box with a ribbon on it, and I didn't have to dwell in that anymore. It was no longer a mystery. But what it did do for me was something I've said so many times: walk with knowing that I'm known by my Creator. It wasn't a mystery anymore. And so my journey is to really do soul food, get soul food. So I started meditating, and there was things that happened to me as a little guy that were incredibly painful. I'm sure we all have some trauma in our life. Most alcoholics do. And I remember when I was 3 years old, standing on a corner, watching my mom have what I now know is this nervous breakdown. We lived in a part of New York that was very, very blue collar. It was kind of rough. And we lived up above a little luncheonette, and we were friends with the owner. And I'm watching my mom in this place, and all these people watching her, and an ambulance drove up and took her into the ambulance and drove away. And this gentleman who was standing next to me, a family friend, covered my eyes because 3-year-olds shouldn't see something like this. And the next memory I have is being in the hospital, standing near my grandparents, and my dad was in another room with my mom and some doctors, and it was messy. And I remember looking at my mom in this very funny jacket. I thought it was a straight jacket. I didn't know what it was. At 3, I thought it was kind of odd looking garment she's wearing. And I walked with that for many years, that 3-year-old kid who was already traumatized and wounded. I don't blame anyone for it. My mom was just like we are. And I remember speaking to a lot of men in AA, and even my sponsor at the time, about what do I do with that? And they said, just leave the past in the past. you're doing good now, just leave it alone. And something in the spirit says that's not good enough. And so what God does, answers or gives me directions in meditation when it sounds. So I would go into meditation every morning and every night and early in the morning. And I'm in a meditation one time, and what I see is this statue, this woman holding this little infant. I don't think much about it. And the next day I went to meditation, and it happened again, and I didn't think much about it. And it was around the third day, maybe fourth day, that statue became human. It was a woman. It was flesh, and she was holding this baby. And the directions I got from this woman was go back to that spot that I stood at 3 years old, that I was standing at when I was 3 years old. And I had a new sponsor. His name was Mark Houston at the time. And I remember telling Mark Houston, I says, during this meditation, I don't know if it means anything, but I got this bouquet of flowers, like roses. And he stopped everything. He said, okay, don't talk this away. This is significant. And in a Catholic, and I believe Christians too, this is a sign. I knew nothing about this. And there was a gentleman, Joe Hawk from California, who was in New York with Mark at the time. Mark says, I'm leaving for Texas tomorrow. Joe's going to go with you to that spot. And on the way down there, I told Joe my entire life story. And when we got to the spot, I got out of the car and I'm looking around, and I can feel where I stood at 3 years old. There was an energy there. I was convinced of it. Again, this is all coming out of a meditation and instructions. And I walked over to the wall where my mom was punching, and I put my hand on the wall. It was a different color. It looked a lot different. And I made a prayer to my mom. And I walked back to that spot again. I got on one knee and I told a little me who was 3 years old that the suffering was over. You come home with me now. And when I was about to get in the car, I couldn't. Something was stopping me from getting in the car. And I leaned in and I said, Joe, I can't get in the car. I don't know what to do. He says, well, let's pray. And so Joe and I are standing just off a street corner in this neighborhood that was now not a safe neighborhood to be in. And we're on our knees holding hands, praying. People were peeking out their blinds like, who are these two guys holding hands on their knees praying in the middle of the street? Joe started to walk around. He's a very intuitive, kind of gifted guy. And he tells me, you need to look in the concrete, you need to look in the sidewalk. Now, I was around 3, and my brother John was around, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or so. My youngest brother was not yet born. His name is John. And Joe says, you need to look in the concrete on the sidewalk, which was about 2 feet to my right. And I walked over there, and what was etched in the concrete was to Peter and Johnny with love and 3 little X's written underneath that. Now, Joe shared that story from a few podiums, so you know I'm not lying. But when I saw that, I kind of got that feeling throughout my body. I was changed forever. And I realized that perhaps someone who lived in that town etched some names in the concrete. That's very, very possible. It's also possible that it came from somewhere else, which I like to lock in on. Again, knowing that I'm known by my Creator. It was the second thing that happened to me. It's been a number of years since that event, but it was the second thing that happened to me that God assured me that He hears my heart. God assured me He was working with me. God assured me that the importance of prayer and meditation. It's way beyond talking and listening, which is just so cliche it does it damage. This is a dimension that there's no end to. But it's incredibly uncomfortable at the beginning to go in meditation, albeit even later years while we're practicing in a while, because it gets us to a place of with no no distractions, and the mind gets quickly frustrated. It needs distractions. It needs a narrative. It needs drama. It needs something. It needs before and later on, and meditation rips that all away, and the mind doesn't like it. But it's one of the benefits that I got from it, and following some instructions, I'm glad I did.
No, lovely. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Marion, for coming in. So that is time now for the questions and answers section of the meeting, where you can come in and ask the speakers any questions relating to steps 10 and 11 or what you've heard. So please be mindful to keep to questions only. A digital timer will be put up for 2 minutes. This is to give everyone as much opportunity to ask a question. So please raise your hand and I will call you in order. If you have drunk or used today, please refrain from asking a question. However, if you do have a question or you need to talk to someone, please stay after the meeting and someone will be happy to listen and to support you. So the room is now open for the Q&A part of the meeting. So please raise your hands, guys. Martin, come on in with your question, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for your service in the background and everyone else. My name is Martin. I'm very grateful, recovered addict and alcoholic, and I didn't have to drink or drug today, thanks to God, as I understand. And Peter, thank you very much, both of you. That was fantastic. And yeah, my question is, I work with a lot of sponsees that aren't even in Ireland, in England. So you spoke about Mark Houston at the early days. How did you find communication, if you weren't in the same place as that person? And do you think face-to-face is beneficial? And how did you cope with that, not being in the same state?
Yeah, there we go. Mark would make his way up to New York every so often. I would go down to Texas every so often. I was working with him for a while, so I was living in Texas, but we were just conversing by phone. And Mark told me perhaps if I was really new, he wouldn't have taken that on. But I was sober about 8 years when I met Mark. I was doing 10 steps. I had 10 and 11 life. I'd just been through the steps once at that time. So he agreed to do that. He knew I was willing to do anything to make that relationship work. And that's how we spoke, by phone mostly.
Lovely. Thank you so much for your question, Martin, and thank you, Peter, for answering it. Young, would you like to come in with your question, please?
Thank you, Katie. Hi, everyone. My name's Young. I'm a grateful recovered addict. Thank you, Peter and Marion. It was great to hear you. Really looking forward to seeing you in November as well. It'd be great to meet you both. That last story, Peter, was beautiful, and I've had a few experiences in meditation that my mind just did not understand. It was just trying desperately to understand, but it did not. But now I just take it into my heart. Anyway, my question for both of you, I guess, is do you have do you meditate and pray together on a daily basis? Thank you.
Oh, I'll take it, just because we practice both. We absolutely practice both. But what I can tell you is, on the lighter side, there's a book in Alcoholics Anonymous called As Bill Sees It, and we'll gather on the couch in the morning with a cup of coffee after he's prayed, after I've prayed. And I call it my time of As Pete Sees It, and we'll just run by like something that's on our heart from the prayer, or something that may have came to us during meditation. And we just share that time together. And even before this, I had my separate prayer. He had his separate prayer. But if we're on a Zoom meeting together and we're speaking together, we come together first before we go out. Peter always says we turn in to go out. And I love that.
Thank you for answering that, and thank you, Young, for your question. I can see there's no more hands up, and we do have 15 minutes left for questions. If no one's got one, I can come in with one for you, Marion, if that's okay. I just wanted to know, along your journey, How has your conscious contact with God from when you first came in to the fellowship to like where you are now improved and changed, if it has improved, and how has it changed across the years, please?
That's a great question.
Wow. It's a lot. Oh my goodness. And first of all, like when I came into the rooms, I had gone through a treatment center, and how that first started was it was 30 days in there, and one of my first great spiritual connections was God, great outdoors. Like I'm from the Pacific Northwest of Washington State, and I love to get outside in nature. And but so it started a lot from a place where we used to talk about it back in the day. A coincidence is when God does something and remains anonymous. And it's like once I was delivered from this thing, or I was surrendered to recovery, I just started seeing things line up. But when I first went to that treatment center, I had a God of my understanding, and I almost fled there on the third day of being in the detox. But God in his infinite wisdom brought some people to 12-step me in that detox. And what happened that day for me was this God of my understanding and the spirit of the fellowship came together. And it's just been this journey ever since. A lot of it is, I have my husband and I have a deep religious practice that we both practice. And I don't know, that's like the story of my life, 35 and a half years to explain my spiritual journey. I think it really like goes back to growing and understanding and effectiveness. And we just keep growing. And I never would believe I am where I am today from where I was back then. It's just, I think that, I used to hear old timers say that God loves drunks and God loves addicts. Why? Because we're so fun to watch. But I believe this God of love and understanding was for me way back before I even recognized all the things that I lived through, all the situations that had put me in, that I actually lived through that. It's like I know God was with me and pulling me towards that relationship. Do you want to answer it too?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Thank
I hope
you
it answers it kinda.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for your question. Next up, I can see Jake. Do you want to come in with a question, please?
Yeah, thank you for taking the meeting and thanks for the shares. It was Katie pretty much asked the same question as me, but I'm still quite early on and I'm working the program. But have you got any tips that would help out with it within meditation early on to try and just help anyone new within the program with meditation? Because I know I certainly struggle with it quite a bit, and I know a lot of other people probably do as well.
Well, I listen to words closely and how ego gets involved. We want to lose the word tips on meditation. We rather want to look for a word called instructions, because I have a great desire to know my creator. A tip on something is how I can get in quicker, take a shortcut, give me a tip on a good stock, a tip on a horse. We want to use some different language. Now, what I will tell you is this, is to be patient with the whole process. It's a lifetime. And I don't have to be Moses the first time I meditate. But what I will do is touch all the noise in the head at the beginning, and that is okay. Focus on the breath, focusing on a word or a phrase or a picture in your head, and just focusing on that. You're going to be distracted. You're going to start thinking about the day ahead of you, what happened yesterday. That's really okay. When we realize we've drifted, we come back again and focus in on breath, and you start over. Put yourself on a timer, maybe a minute or two. Work with that and then increase a minute, and so on. Sometimes using some daily meditation books helps get centered to go into meditation. The other thing with this is posture and breath every book I've studied, every teacher I've spoken to, all have a similar set of instructions. It's posture and breath. For example, I don't want to have sneakers or shoes on. I want to be comfortable clothes. I don't want earbuds or a phone near me or music playing unless it's maybe meditation music for beginners. I want to go into have no distractions. I want to sit comfortable. If I'm sitting on the floor, I want to make sure my back is supported because then it doesn't hurt. If I'm sitting in a chair, I don't want to have chairs with arms on them because now my shoulders are up like this. I want to be able to relax myself. If you're a right-handed person, put your right hand near your lap with your left hand underneath. If you're left-handed, put your left hand down with your right hand on top of it. And we sit it right by our navel where there's an energy. And I just close my eyes and breathe normally. Our body breathes on its own. The heart beats on its own. And I just want to take some breaths in and just focus in on the breath. The noise is going to happen. We'll hit spots, gaps of what Eckhart Tolle calls gaps of no mind, where you leave that place and the spirit starts to operate, and then you come back to thinking again. It's all part of a process. We can start that way.
Thank you, Peter, for that. And thank you, Jake, for coming in with a question. Next up, I can see Charlotte. Come on in, Charlotte.
Thank you. I'm Charlotte. I'm an addict, and that's Franco. Sorry, he won't stop. It's dinner time. Can I have two very quick questions if I just blurt them out? Thank you so much to you both. Wow, honestly, just both of you always, I feel you inside, out in my soul. And so there's quite simple questions. One has always confused me. So when I hear guided meditation, I can work with that so easily. Because I forget about my life and my thoughts, and I go with that. And this is before I learned to sit in the silence and hear it, listen in the silence, which I've learned a bit. I'm learning now. Is guided meditation really a form of? Is it really meditation? As in, is that still? As I know, we're never going to hear any answers probably because we're listening to someone talk about sparkly beaches or stuff. But I've questioned whether that is as a good a form of meditation. Just when you need a chill. And the second one was any of your go-to books. I have to ask that. Like anyone's inspires you.
Go-to books, and you know what? I'll answer the little piece on the meditate. You know what? If it's a guided meditation and something that our spiritual journey is so specific to us, and we get to grow in that. Some people love to listen to. Well, I have some friends who do Soundings of the Planet, a little plug for them. Nature, they're out of Washington State, but they're just incredible. It's flute and it's waterfalls, and sometimes people like that. It just depends on your preference. I mean, silence, we go into silence to hear. So
this is a very like prayer. It's a very individual journey. So if someone likes lighting sage or candles or wants to participate in a group meditation or listen to something as a guided meditation, go for it. It's about getting to a place where you can experience oneness, and no one really has a right to say you're doing it wrong. There's some guidelines, instructions I was sharing with Martin earlier, just to kind of get me in there, get in the saddle, but we're all going to ride the horse a little different, and that's really okay. With respect to books, oh God, there's so many there may not be specifically instructions on meditation, but I call them soul books. And my favorite is The New Seeds of Contemplation by Thomas Merton. It's a book I've worked with for a number of years now. I have them on my desk inside I don't want to do that because it might be endorsing an outside enterprise, but if you want to find me on social media, I'll give you a list of about 10 books. Just message me. Some of them might stick, some of them might not talk to you. That's really okay. But there's some really good stuff out there. Well, I just going to plug I said it. Eckhart Tolle is wonderful. I just broke a tradition. I'll make amends next week. Okay.
Thank you so much for answering that, and thank you, Charlotte, for them 2 great questions. I can see Jenny. Do you want to come in with your question, please?
Yes, hi. My name is Jenny. I'm an alcoholic. I had this calendar and I missed the whole thing, and I just got on 15 minutes ago. So I'm bummed that I missed the whole thing, but I'm grateful that I got to catch this portion. Thank you, Peter and Marion. And if it's the same Peter M that I used to hear all the time on YouTube, I think it is because of the accent, but I still, even yesterday, chop wood, carry water, and how you say it in that accent, chop wood, carry water, and it's been so helpful. I have a question about step 10. I struggled with understanding what step 10 is, and I think I have an idea. And so I was told that step 10 is a continuation of steps 4 through 9. And then there's the spot check in the moment. And then there's the, 11th step, the nightly review. And, with that, when I page 86, I'll go through phases where I'll do it every night. I send it to my sponsor. And then right now I'm going through phases where I'm doing so well in meditation that at the end of the day, I can't find anything that I was upset about. Right. And I'm like, is that my ego just trying to get away with doing that? Or, right? Because I'm a firm believer that if I don't look at it and actually answer those questions, and I remember, I think you mentioned that with Mark Houston one time, where I think you shared in one of your, that, even when you arrived at the hotel at this new city to speak, you still at the hotel open the book and you go through the questions, because I think I'm just answering my question now. Because when I don't look at the questions, I think I can get fooled by my ego. But if I have to go through each question, it's like, were you dishonest? It's like, there's no wiggle room. So
Sorry, Jenny, can we get your question, because your time's coming into an end? What's the question for the guys, please? Thank you.
I don't know. The nightly review on step 11. Do you still, how was, yeah.
Yeah. First thing, chop wood, carry water. If you want to speak like me, water is spelled WADDA. Now,
Water.
Water. Ego will get involved, and I need to be mindful of that. I'll commit 6 burglaries, and at the end of the day, my mind will say, you had a good day. You didn't pick up. So we need to be mindful of ego. This is why, and this is so key, sharing my inventory with someone is important, because if I keep showing up with no inventory, they're going to call me out on it. And if my inventories are just glossed over and check some boxes, they're going to call me out on it. I'm not a fan, and I speak for myself, of sending a sponsor an inventory. It's too far away. I was, and this is for me, I was brought up, I either talk to you over the phone, or we do a FaceTime call, or I'm sitting in front of you and I'm sharing this with you. It really hurts the ego when I do stuff like that. But it's important. You said you send your sponsor inventory. That's going to keep you connected, because the ego will get involved in that process. It's its job. It wants no part of God, so it's got to drive a wedge in there. Having said that, there's going to be times where there's not much to write. There just isn't. And it should be that way over time, where I'm starting to get better. I'm not running into myself, nor am I running into anyone else. I think you're right on track. By the way, the fact that you questioned your own motives is a really good sign if I was sponsoring you. Yeah, we never want to grade our own report card.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Jenny, for coming in with your question. Thank you, Peter, for answering. And we've got Janie. Come on in with your question, Janie.
Thanks, Katie, and MJ for your service, and my name's Janie. I'm a grateful recovered addict, and Peter and Marion. Wow, I'm really looking forward to welcoming you over at the Shepperton Convention. Definitely, without a doubt, I'm really excited to meet you both. My question is a little maybe controversial because I've been really sort of studying step 10 quite a lot, and I'm quite a big book sort of like stickler, and I know they're called, a lot of groups when they do the readings, they call them the step 9 promises. But for me, I've been looking at it and I just wanted to know what your take on this is. At the end, it says, are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. And then it says they will always materialise if we work for them. So that's, for me, that's talking about the future. Whereas if they were the step 9 promises, it would say they are working because we've worked for them. And then the next line is the key for me. It says this thought. So if I say this thought, it's going to go back to the last thing that I've just spoke about. This thought brings us to step 10. So for me, I believe that the work is step 10 and 11. Well, step 10 mainly because 10 and 11 are like sister steps, aren't they? You can't really do one without the other, effectively. But step 10 is going to lead me into step 11. What are your thoughts around that? It's a bit of a...
So let me first say, if we're in the book, we can't stray too far off course, and we all have what I'll call influences based on the sponsor, and we have our own little interpretation of it, and it's all fine. The way I was brought up with this is that information is referring to the work done in 4 through 9, specifically 9. I cannot walk into the world of the spirit when I have a whole bunch of amends that are not completed yet. I've had a spiritual awakening as a result of steps 9.5, not completed all the first 9 proposals. So for me, what amends can I make that I'm consciously aware of, where I won't cause more harm in so doing? So how could I claim to be in 10 and 11 and 12 when I have about 50 amends I could be making and it won't cause any harm? I'm just too lazy to go do them. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'm not really in the world of the spirit. But if I've been thorough and painstaking in step 9, 4 through 9, I always like to refer to. And as I sit here today, I don't have any outstanding amends that I'm aware of. Chances are I've entered the world of the spirit. And with that thought, I enter the world of the spirit. So the way I was brought, I need to clean up the stuff in 9 before I move into the next place. And my job there is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
I can read you. It didn't work. Just go ahead. You have another question. You're not satisfied with that.
No, I am. I loved your answer. I really did. I really did love your answer. I never looked at it like that. All right, I've got one more. I've got one more. Does the personal house cleaning start at 4 or 9?
Say again.
Does the house cleaning start at step 4 or step 9?
Does house cleaning start in 4 or 9? 4.
Yeah, thank you.
We can say it's completed in 9.